This video is brought to you by True Tales of Buried Treasure, the largest collection of old treasure magazines in the West. On our website, you can search for individual treasure stories by region or by our original magazines themselves. To pay us a visit, please click on the link in the description. Enjoy.
On the eventful night of October 8, 1897, under the enchanting starry sky that adorned the semi-arid surroundings of Grants, New Mexico, a tale of daring unfolded. The Atchison, Topeka, and Santa Fe Railway fast express and mail train embarked on its westward journey. Little did the unsuspecting crew know that an uninvited guest lurked within their midst. With a cunning flourish, the masked intruder descended from the tender into the cab, brandishing a gun and commanding the attention of the engineer and fireman. His drawl carried an air of authority as he warned against increasing the train's speed. "Do not increase the speed," he hissed. "When we reach a certain point, I will give you an order to stop." The engineer, who had been in this situation before, obeyed without hesitation. As they approached the designated spot, two more figures emerged from the shadows and climbed aboard the train. One of them leaned out of the right-hand side opening, keeping a vigilant watch. A mere moment passed before he instructed the engineer to proceed, but only at his command. The bandit gang's intentions became clear as two express cars were swiftly detached from the engine, indicating that more members were involved in this audacious heist. The surrounding landscape was bathed in the light of the stars, the trees and hills casting long shadows across the land. A sudden explosion shattered the stillness, followed by another. After a few moments, a masked rider approached the train, leading a saddled horse. The bandit inside the train chuckled before saying, "You may have your train back, Mr. Engineer." With that, he mounted the horse and rode off into the night, leaving the Hogwarts Express to continue on its journey. Jumping down to the ground, engineer and fireman ran back to the second express car. The bandits had known which one to break into, which meant they possessed inside information from some source. The express company messenger was found bound securely and gagged, lying safely off the roadbed in a shallow barrow pit. He had been forced to open the side door under threat of having the car being blown up with him inside. Whoever blew the two through safes to be opened in Los Angeles knew exactly how to do it. The doors hung awry by one hinge, but there was no other damage. Both had been looted of sacks filled with gold and silver coin. Backing up, the engineer reconnected the train and shunted back into Grants. The alarm from there brought posses of officers and express company agents to the scene. The trail of 5 riders was followed into the vast lava beds south of Grants and irrevocably lost. The money taken was first reported to be $50,000, then the amount was changed to $100,000. A year later, it became definitely known that the bandits escaped with $160,000 in newly minted coins. Absolutely no clues could be found to identify perpetrators of the successful crime. It was charged to the Blackjack Ketchum Gang, or the Blackjack Christian Outlaws, or maybe it had been the work of some lesser-known gang. The sad truth was that no lawmen or express company agents could tie it to any gang. All theories were not even near guesses. No one imagined at the time that it could be the skillful work of the Wild Bunch led by Butch Cassidy, George Leroy Parker. They were then supposedly barely ahead of pursuing lawmen far to the north. The audacious heist was undoubtedly the handiwork of the notorious Wild Bunch, orchestrated in the signature style of none other than Cassidy himself. Butch Cassidy, the mastermind, had enlisted the aid of deaf Charlie Hanks, Elzy Lay, Harry Longabaugh, known as the Sundance Kid, and Ben Kilpatrick, alias the Tall Texan. Their criminal exploits became the stuff of legend, inspiring countless tales of buried treasure. Whispers circulated that the ill-gotten gains were concealed within the treacherous lava beds, lightening the outlaws' burden as they evaded pursuing posses. Some claimed the loot was stashed away in the Mogollon Mountains, while others insisted it lay hidden in the White Mountains of Arizona. Yet these accounts, penned by various authors, failed to identify the true culprits. In truth, the stolen riches lay concealed further south, carefully secreted in 2 caches near marker trees, along the San Francisco River, upstream from the WS Ranch near Alma, New Mexico. The five outlaws traversed the rugged terrain, unhurried, their horses burdened with the weight of the original money sacks. Each member of the gang possessed an abundance of additional spoils from their Wyoming and Montana escapades, leaving no room for more. Their journey led them from the river camp to Mogollon, where Cassidy bid his comrades farewell. He set off for Alma, intent on meeting his dear friend Captain William French, the esteemed manager of the English syndicate-owned W.S. outfit. French had known Cassidy for nearly 2 years under the alias of John Lowe. When French confided in Cassidy about the ranch's constant theft problem, Cassidy assured him that he would put an end to it. French was relieved and promised to pay the cowboys double top-hand wages if they succeeded. It was a perfect opportunity for the outlaws to hide out while they worked on the ranch. Cassidy left and returned with Lay and deaf Charlie Hanks, and later the Sundance Kid and Tall Texan, all using aliases. They cleared the ranch of rustlers, and French boasted of their expertise. However, unbeknownst to French, the outlaws had rustled many cows themselves. They knew all the tricks and could guess what the rustlers would do next. In 1898, Deaf Charlie left, and a week later, Sundance Kid and Tall Texan went their separate ways. Cassidy quit to open a saloon in Alma, where he was well-liked and successful. But when a Pinkerton detective arrived in town, Cassidy had to leave between suns after saving the detective's life. Only Lay remained behind to work for the ranch. For reasons unbeknownst to him, he veered away from Cassidy's meticulously planned escapades of train heists and bank robberies up north. The Wild Bunch, while loosely connected to Blackjack Ketchum's New Mexico gang, enticed Lay into participating in a grand operation. According to French's account, Mac, also known as William K. McGinnis, expressed his desire to accompany a shipment of cattle to Colfax County in northeastern New Mexico. As Lay departed, French arrived in Springer only to discover that a group of bandits had seized a Colorado and Southern Railroad passenger train. To his astonishment, one of the outlaws was none other than his cherished cowpuncher, Mac. Lay joined forces with Blackjack Ketchum and his brother Sam, while Deaf Charlie Hanks and Kid Curry descended from the Northern Territories to offer their assistance. On the night of July 11, 1899, near Folsom, the train was forcibly halted. However, despite their efforts to blow open the express car safe, the gang returned empty-handed. In their hasty retreat, they sought refuge in the treacherous Turkey Canyon, only to be pursued and cornered by a swift posse comprised of lawmen and agents from Trinidad, Colorado. A fierce gunfight ensued, resulting in the deaths of Deputy U.S. Marshal W.H. Love and 2 Trinidad officers. Lay and Sam Ketchum suffered grave injuries. Sam, unable to escape, was apprehended and ultimately succumbed to blood poisoning from a shattered arm. The remaining members managed to elude capture, with Lay receiving aid from loyal acquaintances as he journeyed southward, eventually finding solace in Carlsbad. During his recovery from his wounds, fate betrayed Lay as he was recognized and apprehended on August 15th. He faced charges of second-degree murder for the killing of Love. The presiding judge sentenced him to a lifetime behind bars under the name of William McGinnis. Down around Alma, the quiet, handsome young outlaw had made many friends. None of them wanted to believe he was actually a notorious train robber. Prominent among his friends were French and 2 brothers who owned a general store, Louis and Walter Jones. These friends appealed to Territorial Governor M.A. Otero to pardon him. Finally, it was granted to take effect January 10, 1906. Knowing that a new administration in Washington intended to replace him, Otero had Lay released 3 weeks before that date. Lay went immediately to Alma. His time was divided between the Jones brothers and French. He worked for the W.S. and the merchants for about 18 months. During this period, he was checked on occasionally by officers who expected him to return to outlawry. Instead, he behaved himself. One day he said to the brothers, "I'm going to be gone for maybe 3 weeks. I know where there is some money buried at the roots of 2 juniper trees down near the Mexican border." Beyond that, he explained nothing, departing with a pack horse carrying grub and a bedroll. Although he did head southward, Lay circled back and around the W.S. unseen to the San Francisco. At the end of 4 weeks, the brothers began to worry, fearing that he had gotten into serious trouble. Then Lay rode in with $58,000, of which $100 was in silver dollars. Still in the original money sacks, it was piled under a slicker in the storeroom of a small bar, run in connection with the general store. Lay did nothing now, hanging around in a very studious mood. He appeared to be thinking deeply about something. At that time, silver dollars were scarce. When the brothers needed some in the store for change, they gave him currency for the silver until all of it had changed hands. One day he packed up again, leaving the small fortune behind, and remained away 2 weeks. Returning empty-handed, he shrugged his shoulders philosophically. "The biggest money eludes me," he told the brothers. "There's still $108,000 or $10,000 buried in the ground. I just can't find it." Finally, he departed for Baggs, Wyoming. He married there and settled down to punching cattle for his father-in-law. For a few years, he kept in touch with the brothers with an occasional letter. In one, he reported that he had bought a ranch, which was in no wise true. Many years later, when no harm could come to Lay over the buried loot, the brothers talked to H.A. Hoover, a former citizen of Mogollon and Alma. He had known the outlaw. They said to him, "He seemed to trust us without question, talking freely and leaving all that money in a corner of the storeroom." However, Lay did not tell them he was part of the gang that buried the money, nor did he name anyone who did. In fact, he never bothered to explain why he lied about intending to go south towards Mexico. Probably he had no idea they know different. They learned he was on the San Francisco because 2 prospectors, seeing a lone man in camp, distributed him and his horses to the brothers. It could have been no one but their friend Lay, whom they still called Mac. When he embarked on his quest for the second hidden treasure, the same prospectors observed him stealthily navigating the terrain, occasionally engaging in the act of excavation. Unbeknownst to Lay, they were busy tunneling into the side of a mountain slope, concealing their mining activities and encampment with sturdy timber. On cloudless days, they could spy on his every move from their vantage point. The brothers were informed of this intriguing information after Lay's final departure. Another enigma that Lay kept concealed was the source of the ill-gotten gains. However, the brothers firmly believed that it originated from the infamous Grants Train Robbery. None other could account for such a substantial sum. Various pieces of circumstantial evidence further bolstered this theory. Following Lay's arrest, they discovered that the adept cowboys in French's employ were none other than the notorious Wild Bunch. Shortly after the Grants robbery, this quintet had mysteriously appeared in the vicinity. Upon establishing his Alma saloon and cultivating numerous friendships, Cassidy, with his amiable demeanor, once cryptically remarked, "Should this enterprise ever falter, fear not, for I am privy to a close-by treasure trove, capable of funding an even grander establishment." Delving into accounts of the Wild Bunch, the brothers deduced that, apart from Lay, none of the gang had managed to journey this far south incognito to retrieve the concealed riches. They hypothesized that Lay's failure to locate the second, larger cache stemmed from his involvement in burying the smaller one. Although he possessed a rough idea of its whereabouts, he still required many days to pinpoint its exact location. Cassidy himself likely concealed the larger fortune, possibly with the help of only one other person. Thus, only 2 individuals knew the precise location, hidden at the base of a tree. Before one of the brothers passed away, and the company became Jones and McKean Mercantile, they confessed to searching for the stash. However, their search was limited to where Lay was seen hunting on the south side of San Francisco. Their absences were mistaken for prospecting trips. French's book, Some Recollections of a Western Ranchman, exposed the secret. The last 2 chapters detailed the Wild Bunch's stay at the W.S. Ranch, attracting treasure hunters. Nevertheless, the brothers remained silent. After H.A. Hoover's Early Days in the Mogollons was published, extensive search efforts followed. Hoover's book quoted the brothers' confidential statements about Lay and the buried treasure. E.g., Doc Williams, who had connections in Alma and Glenwood, heard all the brothers knew about Lay. In 1972, friends in Alma informed Williams that the cache had not been discovered. While some dispute whether the loot originated from the Grants Train robbery, its origin is of little importance. What matters is that it remains somewhere on the San Francisco Trail, Inquiring about the treasure in Alma and Glenwood is met with hostility and evasive responses. The few individuals who possess the knowledge discourage treasure hunters, as they believe they will eventually find it themselves.
Thanks for watching. If you'd like to read the original article or purchase the magazine from which it was taken, please check out our website, truetalesofburiedtreasure.com.